Good morning, dear friends. Let us take these opening moments not as preface to a lecture, but as entrance into a sanctuary. We are not here to collect phrases and stack them in a proud library of the mind. We are here for a work of grace. Lay aside the urge to remember, to compare, to judge. Let the room become simple, almost invisible, until only one thing is apparent, a readiness to listen. Scripture says, "He that hath ears to hear, let him hear." There are ears of flesh for sounds and syllables, and there are ears of spirit for the living presence that rides upon the sound. It is to those inner ears that I speak, and it is by those inner ears that you will receive. Now, I must begin with a strange claim. It will sound bold, and it will sound unlikely to the reasoning mind, but I say to you after my 27 years of work that it is not the words you hear this morning that will help you, it is the consciousness that accompanies them. And stranger still to the intellect, these recordings, this simple device, this unromantic bit of metal and wire, can and does carry the presence of realized spirit. I am not theorizing with you. I have watched healings occur in kitchen chairs and on overnight trains. I have seen fear dissolve in hotel rooms where a small machine turned and a quiet voice spoke into an emptiness that was quickly filled. And I assure you, those men and women were not saved by punctuation. They were met by a presence that found them through sound. Do not imagine that the syllables are power. Mind isn't power. Oh, it is useful to mind the traffic light and the grocery list, but it is not power. Spirit is power. Soul is power. Consciousness is power. Truth is power. And when you hear this work, when you hear it truly, you do not merely receive a string of ideas to be filed away. You catch the tone, the climate, the life that undergirds the word. Faith comes by hearing, says the apostle. And do not be deceived into thinking he meant the hearing of an argument. He meant the hearing of that which is alive, the word before words. Some will say, but how can a tape hold consciousness? My answer is that it doesn't. Grace does. The device is a runway, not the airplane. The infinite invisible finds any honest opening, and sound is an honest opening when it is offered in realization. This electronic work seems to catch everything, the cadence, the pause, the inwardness, and if there has been an awareness of God in the speaking, that awareness is somehow present in the hearing. If I move this microphone an inch to the left, it might make me no more spiritual, though a few students might write to say it sounds more authentic. But when the heart is still and the mind is unclenched, even a whisper through a tinny speaker becomes a doorway. We are gathered not to be improved, but to be illumined. Be still and know that I am God, the psalmist counsels. That is our compact together. We will be still enough this morning to hear not merely me, not merely a recorded me later this evening or a printed me next week, but the I that is God. Where two or three are gathered in that name, in that nature, there I am in the midst of them. And if that I is present here, do you not think it can be present there in your living room, in your sick room, in your late-night loneliness, when a few humble vibrations move the air? I am promising you more than a proposition. I am promising a proof. Before we finish our time, we shall conduct a brief experiment in which you will set the mind at rest and simply listen, not to what is said, but to what is. When thinking stops, real power begins, and you will feel the difference. Until then, let your expectancy be gentle. We are not coaxing God, we are consenting to God. And as we consent, listening beyond thought into that silent presence, we will find that hearing is not the transfer of information, but the transmission of life. Now let us be very clear about what is happening when you place the ear to a recording, or sit in a room like this and let the voice move upon the air. You are not catching ideas to store in the mind. You are touching a living climate. Mind isn't power. Spirit is power. Soul is power. Consciousness is power. Truth is power. If it were the mind, then brighter intellects would be holier, quick readers, more Christed, and parrots our best healers. But it is not so, and you know it. It is the Spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. That from the Master tells you what carries the life, spirit, not syllables. Sound has its physics, vibration, pitch, volume, a little needle scratching lacquer or a chip arranging digits, and all of that is wonderful, but none of it heals. The sound is a vehicle, the cargo is grace. The wave is the riverbed, the water is the presence. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. I am not asking you to believe a theory. I am telling you what years of watching have shown. Where the presence is realized, discord dissolves, regardless of grammar, accent, or eloquence. Why does the voice matter? Because the realized tone rides the living breath more readily than print alone. Breath is spirit. You can almost feel the warmth on your cheek if I lean too close to this microphone, which I shall try not to do. In the printed page, the truth stands like a signpost. In the spoken word, the same truth moves like a breeze. The electronic medium, strangely enough, seems to catch not only the sounds, but the atmosphere behind them. Again and again I have heard from students, when I hear an authentic recording and then read, the reading opens as if it had been explained from within. This is our community evidence, humble but consistent. Those who pair hearing and study come quickly to recognizable fruit. They report that understanding deepens, resentments lift without argument, fears quiet down without willpower, not because of the syllables repeated, but because in the hearing they touch that within themselves which is already whole. Be careful here. It isn't your wrong thinking that is getting you in trouble. It is the belief that thinking can save you. When thinking stops, something else begins to breathe you. So, as you listen, do not strain for words. Listen for life, for the subtle tone that says, peace, be still. Catch the presence, and let it do its own work within you this hour. Let us prove this quietly, here and now. Sit as you are, but let the body come into a simple dignity. Straighten the spine as if a string lifts you gently from the crown. Let the jaw soften, the tongue rest, the hands be easy in the lap. Notice the room's quiet, the way sound seems to settle of itself when we do not chase it. Be still and know that I am God. We will not make anything happen. We will consent. Now name a need once, only once. Not a paragraph, not an argument, just a word or a sentence whispered within, Father, this. And you know what this is. Having named it, let it go. Do not turn to it again. Do not touch it with thought or prayer or hope. Let thinking stop. Let the mind be a lake after wind, the ripples subsiding of their own accord. I shall keep speaking, but you are not listening to words. You are listening into the space between words, into the hush in which they appear and through which they pass. There, right there, something lives. When thinking stops, real power begins. Rest in the alert stillness that remains, not drowsy, not strained, open, as if the ears grew wide and the heart remembered how to breathe. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Allow whatever wishes to show itself to come. A warmth, a soft aliveness at the chest, a gentle tingling at the crown or the hands. Do not measure it. Do not frame it. Let it be. Let silence be the physician and the presence the remedy. Notice the first fruits. The breath of itself slows and deepens as though another is breathing you. The shoulders soften. as if some invisible hand unhooked a long habit of bracing. The belly loosens. Behind the eyes, the pressure eases. Anxiety drops without being argued down. Fear loosens without being persuaded. It isn't your right thinking doing this. It isn't a new belief doing this. Mind isn't power. Spirit is power. Soul is power. Consciousness is power. Truth is power. And you are tasting in these few calm moments how the invisible moves when we cease to move it. Let us linger a few breaths more in that inner Sabbath. He restoreth my soul. No reaching, no pleading, just hearing, just being. When you open your eyes wider, keep that same hearing alive. You have touched the stream. Remember this, what you felt now did not come from syllables. It came from the presence that rides upon them. Keep listening there, and grace will continue its own work. Now, let us bind the work with a double thread. Reading and hearing are not rivals. They are warp and weft. Hearing inducts the heart, reading informs the mind. Together they weave a single fabric strong enough to carry you through the day. The letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. Do you see? The letter by itself cannot quicken. The Spirit alone may bless, but the mind cannot stay with it unless it is taught, but both in right order. Hear first to catch the atmosphere, the tone of grace, the living climate. Then read and let the mind understand what the heart has already received. Make it simple and daily. Each morning, or at some faithful quiet in your day, place before you an authentic recording and consent to 5, 10, 15 minutes of listening. No pencil. No hunt for sentences to quote. Let the breath of the word move over the surface of your being until something within says, peace. After that, open the book and read a few pages. You will discover that the phrases which yesterday seemed opaque now open of themselves because the heart has already heard them. Did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us, by the way? That inward burning is the teacher. The reading then gives the mind a map of what has been inwardly traveled. Return to the same passages for a season. Repetition is alive when Spirit breathes. Stay close to the voice through which you first recognize the presence. Not because personality is power, it is not, but because the recording carries the class atmosphere and you can step back into it each day. Avoid dramatizations and clever abridgments. If the tape crackles a little, let it. Grace is not allergic to a hiss. What matters is that you re-enter the realized tone until it becomes your own. Faith comes by hearing. Steadiness comes by hearing again. Thus the mind takes the lower seat while the heart leads. And please, keep it short and faithful, rather than long and sporadic. Manna cannot be stored. Yesterday's portion grows worms. Give us this day our daily bread. 10 honest minutes today are worth more than 2 hours next Saturday. Take, therefore, no anxious thought for quantity. Be faithful with presence. The heart is fed in the hearing. The mind is clarified in the reading, and the day is steadied because both threads hold. Line upon line, here a little, there a little, the fabric strengthens. In time you will find that even when the machine is off and the book is closed, the double thread remains, and the garment of praise replaces the spirit of heaviness. Now, listen with the inner ear, and you will hear 2 different atmospheres at work in this world. One is the noise of law. Law is the drumbeat of cause and effect, the arithmetic of merit and penalty. It says, earn, fix, deserve, defend. It says, think harder, try longer, brace yourself, pay your dues, and perhaps you will be spared. It is the nervous hum that underlies competition and fear of tomorrow. We were born under that law, but there is another sound, the tone of grace. The law came by Moses. Grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Grace is not reward. Grace is presence. It fulfills without bargaining. It quiets fear at the root. Fear hath torment, but perfect love casteth out fear. Grace speaks without shout or threat, a low and steady note that says, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. When that tone is perceived, the shoulders forget to guard, the heart unclenches, and the mind, relieved of sentry duty, yields. How do we move from noise to tone? Not by manipulating thought, not by trading one set of mental rules for another. We do not change one law for another. We annul law by yielding to grace. Hearing is the way of that yielding. My sheep hear my voice. In our work, we listen not to fit truth over error like a lid, but to consent to a presence that has no opposite. When thinking stops, real power begins, and the government of grace takes the field without contest, dissolving the need for contest. You will know the difference by its fruit. Under law you strain, and the strain breeds more law. Under grace you rest into alert, quiet, and something begins to act that is not your will. A pain eases without argument. A resentment loosens without a speech. The fear of lack softens, though the arithmetic has not been redone. This is not improved thinking. It is exchanged authority. Another tone governs. Peace, be still. That is how healing emerges here, not as the prize of mental effort, but as the overflow of realized presence. So in your hearing, refuse the old traffic of anxiety. We are not bargaining with God. We are consenting to God. If you hear strain in you, do not add more effort. Become still and listen through it until the gentle note is caught again. Then stand there. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ hath made us free. We do not cure by law-based effort. We are healed by yielding to the tone of grace we hear, and by letting that tone keep time for our thoughts, our words, and our days. If we are to understand why hearing heals, why a simple recording in a quiet room can become a place of visitation, we must look for a moment at the road by which we have come. Non-medical healing, as a public practice in the West, did not begin with spiritual realization. It began with mesmerism. Mr. Mesmer found a current, call it animal magnetism, call it suggestion that could be directed upon another mind and produce alterations. Pain eased. Paralysis trembled and moved. Moods shifted. What is that? It is law. Cause and effect within the realm of mind acting upon mind. Effective sometimes, but always under the law, and what the law gives, the law takes away. The stronger suggestion displaces the weaker. The louder drum drowns the softer. He that taketh the sword shall perish with the sword. Live by mental force, and you invite a stronger mental force to come along and undo your handiwork. Mr. Quimby came next, and he did a noble thing. He stepped away from magnets and rods and found that the mind of the practitioner could impress the patient, could correct a fear, could deny an image, and results would come. He sat in a chair, conversed, argued gently or firmly, and people rose with color in their cheeks. I do not disparage what good was done. I know too well that relief is precious. But hear me, it was still the mind correcting the mind. It was still law. It was still suggestion and counter-suggestion, belief and counter-belief. You can make a fine bouquet on that field, but the wind of the next doctrine will scatter it. Mind isn't power. Spirit is power. Soul is power. Consciousness is power. Truth is power. Then Dr. Evans and Mrs. Eddy helped us turn our faces toward a higher horizon. In their work, there was at last the whisper at times, the shout that God is the healer, that Christ is the law of liberty, that matter has no power to imprison life. Thank God for that turn. Yet even there, and I say it tenderly, the practice too often entwined itself with mental correction. lists of causes, denials and affirmations, the patient urged to work on thoughts, to repair their own scaffolding. Do you see the danger? Even when the doctrine speaks of spirit, the hand keeps reaching back to mind as lever. Then if a cold lifts, credit is given to the right statement. If it lingers, blame finds the wrong thinker. It isn't your wrong thinking that is getting you in trouble. Nobody is suffering from their private sins as private sinners. We are all, until grace intervenes, under the universal belief in law, the law of fear, the law of self-preservation, the law of cause and effect. The law came by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. From that stream there flowed new thought and unity. The Fillmores lifted many hearts. Statements of truth were put on the lips of thousands. Gratitude, optimism, and a radiant hope entered parlors and prayer groups. For that fragrance we give thanks. But hope is not the secret of healing, and affirmation is not the presence of God. To declare, I am strong, I am supplied, I am safe, may rally the mind and stiffen the will, yet it remains, when used as leverage, an operation within law, one thought displacing another. Cheerful suggestion may outshout gloomy suggestion for a season, just as a brass band will drown a street organ, but when the parade passes, silence returns, and with it the same emptiness. That is why some of you have labored heroically with statements and found your nights still crowded. It is not because you failed, it is because mind cannot transmit grace. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Our path, this quiet, homely path, leaves mental manipulation behind and returns to realize presence transmitted, not argued. We are not adjusting images, we are consenting to reality. We are not proving propositions, we are yielding to the presence that fulfills itself. When thinking stops, real power begins, because the theater in which suggestion performs closes, and the temple in which God is all open. And here is the strange mercy of our time. This electronic work seems to catch everything, even the consciousness behind it. If in the speaking there has been realization, if the Christ has been felt as the living atmosphere, then the machine, like a clean window, lets that light pass again. Syllables you can copy on a pad, presence you can only catch. Recordings do not carry might or mind. They carry tone, the grace tone of realized awareness, and where that tone is heard, law thins and dissolves of itself. So we honor our forebears for opening the gate, but we do not camp where they camped. We do not fight suggestion with counter-suggestion, nor do we scold a patient into better beliefs. We stand still and know. We listen until the silent interval speaks. We let grace do what grace alone can do, cancel the whole courtroom of law, not by verdict, but by the appearing of the judge's love. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The kingdom is not argued into place, it arrives as presence. And when you hear it, yes, even on a humble tape that crackles, you will know why we came this way and why we go no further with the mind. Now we must make a turn that removes a lifelong thorn. It isn't your wrong thinking that is getting you in trouble. It never was. What afflicts us is not a private wickedness or a personal stupidity. It is the universal claim of law, fear, wearing the mask of me. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Hear that, not against persons, not against Aunt Mary's attitude or your neighbor's opinion, but against impersonal suggestion that has been humming so long we thought it was our own song. When you take your seat for treatment, whether in a quiet room with a recording or in your chair at 2 a.m, do not accuse a person and do not repair a patient. Handle it as a universal claim, not a personal one, and blame will evaporate like mist before sunrise, leaving only mercy, and mercy heals. I have seen the same panic pass like a shadow over a city and then slip into a kitchen and be called my cold or my nerves. Yesterday it had a headline, today it has your name on a tissue box. But name does not make it personal. Contagion is a world claim, a hypnosis skating on the surface of sense that says, fear me, I am power. We answer not with counter-argument, but with presence. We sit down, we listen beyond words, and in that realized silence the boast deflates. No plague shall come nigh thy dwelling. Not because you outthought it mind is in power, but because grace, felt and heard, renders the mask transparent and there is nothing behind it. Likewise with the old scarcity fear, the market jitters, the office whispers, the arithmetic refuses to smile, the law of lack climbs on the desk and begins its sermon. We do not argue with sums. We are not in that church. We hear through the claim to the presence that is fullness. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. In that hearing, you will notice a quiet rearrangement. The heart ceases to clench, the mind releases its horde of anxious figures, and avenues open that were invisible under strain. You did not demonstrate a bank account. You yielded to abundance as presence, and the appearance followed its governor. And then there is the daily tyrant, the law of self-preservation. It leaps without invitation, on the road, in the store, at the smallest hint that there is not enough room, enough time, enough respect. Elbows sharpen, voices rise. But that too is not you. It is a universal reflex, rehearsed by the race and reheard by you. Stand still. Perfect love casteth out fear. When thinking stops, real power begins, and in that wordless regard, love appears. Not your love struggling to be noble, but love as the fact of being. A parking space may still be scarce, but the competition is gone. Sometimes even the space appears. But that is not the prize. The prize is the end of enmity. This, then, is our art in the hearing. We do not treat a person. We behold through the person the impersonal claim, and then let the presence answer it with its own silence. The voice on the tape may speak, but the power arrives in the intervals, the unhurried assurance that says, be not afraid, only believe. Judge not, that ye be not judged, which in practice means do not fasten discord upon a name. Let the accusation fall to the floor. Turn and listen until only the I, that is God, is audible. In that atmosphere, you will find the patient already forgiven, the practitioner already relieved, and the so-called problem without a claimant. We heal by hearing through the world claim to presence, and there without argument the work is done. Having learned to hear through the world claim to presence, we come now to the very doorway where power enters, the silence between syllables. Do not mistake me, this is not poetic flourish, this is procedure. Think a matter through to its end calmly, honestly, without dramatics. Take it as far as thought can carry it. The doctor's report says thus and so. The arithmetic adds as it adds. The letter on the desk threatens what it threatens. Let thought do its proper work of laying out appearances, and then stop. Lay the whole bundle upon the altar of quiet, and refuse the next thought. Not drowsy, wakeful, not stern, loving. A tender alertness, as though you are watching for dawn and would not miss the first pale line of light. When thinking stops, real power begins. In your hearing practice, make that stillness your companion. As the voice speaks, you are not hunting for statements, you are consenting to presence. When the voice pauses, ride the pause. Do not hurry to the next sentence. Let the gap open. There in that hush, the infinite invisible moves. Elijah did not find the Lord in the wind, nor in the earthquake, nor in the fire, but in the still small voice. The stillness is not absence. It is fullness without form. Power flows in the pause. Let the gaps in the recording do the healing. If the speaker sips water, you sip silence. If the tape crackles and then falls quiet, enter the quiet. That is your sanctuary. Mind isn't power. Spirit is power. Soul is power. Consciousness is power. Truth is power. The syllable carries your attention to the gate. The pause brings you through. How will you know that the work has begun to operate? Not by fireworks, not by a vision to brag about, not by a sudden cleverness. The first fruits are plain and homely. Peace appears soft, but with weight, like a warm hand placed upon the heart. A quiet yes rises within a consent that does not come from you, but seems to have been waiting before you arrived. Then, sometimes swiftly and sometimes like the tide, there is a sense of already complete, as though a sentence ended inside with, "It is finished." Do not analyze it. Do not reach to pin it down. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Let it keep you. The moment you feel that inward amen, rest there a few breaths more. Reverence the stillness. It is holy ground. And now the practical safeguard. Fear will try to renew its lease. An hour later, or at midnight, the mind will tug your sleeve and say, "What about?" Do not wrestle with the question. Return at once to the altar of the interval. One conscious breath, two at most. Be still and know that I am God. Let the shoulders fall. Let the jaw soften. Listen for the same pause you heard on the tape, even if no tape is playing. The interval is portable. It can be found in a doorway, at a red light, between the ring and the lifting of the receiver. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. You are not re-arguing the case. You are re-entering the sanctuary in which the case never was. Make a habit of honoring the silence as the central actor in your practice. As you listen each day, give special courtesy to the spaces. Do not fill them, let them fill you. In time, you will discover that the pauses lengthen of themselves because love wishes to rest you, and the sense of already complete will arrive sooner, stay longer, and go with you when the machine is off. Then the tape has done its work. It has trained your ear for the voice that is not in words. Keep the interval as your altar, and you will find that the prayer prays itself, the healing heals itself, and grace, quiet, steady, certain governs without your strain. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Keep that peace by keeping the pause. Now a word for the conscience of our practice, for the ear has its ethics. Keep the channel clean. We are not here to demonstrate things, to angle for money, to pull a parking space out of the infinite as if grace were a valet service. We are not here to secure leverage over a boss, to press a judge, to summon a call from a reluctant friend. No man can serve two masters. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. If in your hearing the true object is goods, you have already left grace for law. You have slipped from presence to manipulation. And manipulation, however piously perfumed, is mesmerism at a church picnic. Mind is in power. Spirit is power. Soul is power. Consciousness is power. Truth is power. You will no more be guilty of trying to demonstrate supply than you would of stealing it. Do you hear? If by thought or technique you endeavor to pry loose another's dollars to make them your dollars, or to lift their opportunity to make it your opportunity, the seventh commandment has not changed its name because you smiled while violating it. Thou shalt not covet. Keep your hands off effects. Presence is fulfillment. Effects are byproducts. Seek presence, not prizes. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not grabbed. Given, not gotten. Permit a bit of humor to save you a season of sorrow. I have known dear students who visualized a crisp ticket to a concert, and lo, a neighbor's seat stood empty. She had taken ill an hour before. If you visualize your neighbor's ticket, you may end by carrying her regret along with it. Another time, a man vigorously pictured the last space at the curb. He got it at the moment a harried mother missed her dentist appointment and wept in the next block. You do not want your good sown with another's loss. Those seams come apart at midnight. And as for luggage, I once met a metaphysician so intent on attracting a first-class compartment that when the overhead rack opened in a sudden jolt, a suitcase, someone else's demonstration, chose his head for its landing. The law of self-preservation and the law of compensation play strange tricks when invited. Keep out of their theater. Let the ear be chaste. Listen, for God, not goods, love, not advantage. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. A single eye is an undivided aim, God alone. Do not work on your spouse to agree with you, nor on your child to adopt your path, nor on your employer to promote you. That is a tempting jurisdiction where you have none. Handle only the universal claim, never a person. In your quiet, behold Christ in their midst, and then be still. Love seeketh not her own. Where love is realized, harmony appears without your engineering, and what is added harms no one, deprives no one, competes with no one. Make this your safeguard. If you cannot wish the outcome universally, you are not dealing with grace. If it blesses you while disadvantaging another, leave it on the altar and wait for the real. The realization of the presence of God is fulfillment, not the promise of fulfillment. From that fullness, shoes and bread, time and right action, companions and right opportunities appear like blossoms on a healthy tree. You did not make the blossoms. You kept the root in living water. Freely ye have received, freely give. Keep the ear free of bargaining, the heart free of hunger for objects, and the practice will remain pure. Then the transmission is clean, the tone is steady, and what is added comes as benediction, not as a trade. In that way, your listening becomes love in action, and grace without your strain orders your steps. Now let us be very simple. Grace is not earned by plan, but plan can keep the door unlatched. We are not building a machine. We are keeping an hour for God. Give us this day our daily bread. For 30 days, take daily bread as a practice, not a strain. 10 to 15 minutes of authentic recording, no dramatizations, no clever cuts, just a clean window through which the same light can pass. Sit quietly. Let the shoulders forget their work. Let the mind take the lower seat. You are not hunting for lines to quote. You are consenting to presence. Then, while the heart is still warm, take 5 to 10 minutes of reading on the same theme. Let the book name for the mind what the ear has already received in spirit. Not, but both. Hearing first, reading next. Faith comes by hearing. Steadiness comes by hearing again. Clarity comes when the mind is humbly taught after the heart has heard. Keep the theme steady for a few days at a time. Do not roam. If the recording speaks of peace, return to it tomorrow. If the reading opens, my peace I give unto you, remain with that line until it moves from sentence to substance. Mind isn't power. Spirit is power. Soul is power. Consciousness is power. Truth is power. Repetition under grace is not rote. It is rainfall on a field that has learned to drink. Bookend the day with remembrance. On waking, before the day recruits you into its noises, recall a single pause from yesterday's hearing, the place where the voice fell silent and something weighty yet tender drew near. Do not rebuild it. Simply remember and let 2 or 3 breaths rest in it. My sheep hear my voice. At night before sleep, do the same. Set your head on the pillow inside that remembered hush. He giveth his beloved sleep. These two brief recollections, morning and evening, are not efforts. They are homing signals. They tell the heart where home is, and through the night the presence keeps house. Once a week, keep a longer Sabbath within the week. 30 to 60 minutes when no one can find you and you are in no hurry to find yourself. Switch off the devices. Place a clock out of sight. Begin with 10 minutes of hearing again, not to collect statements, but to enter the atmosphere. Then close your eyes and let thought finish what it can finish. Lay the problem out for a minute or two, if there is one, as you would place bread and wine on an altar. Then refuse the next thought. Be wakeful, loving, expectant, without demand. When thinking stops, real power begins. Do not fear the quiet. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. If the mind tugs your sleeve, smile at it and return to the pause you learned on the tape. Power flows in the pause. Let the gaps do the healing. Keep a small journal, but keep it honest. 3 or 4 lines after your daily practice, 2 or 3 after the weekly hour. Note only the fruits, not the prizes. Do not record outcomes and trophies. Record shifts of climate. Peace came. Impatience softened. Kindness arrived of itself. Courage stood up in thee. By their fruits ye shall know them. If you catch yourself keeping score, money, applause, advantage, close the book and be still 1 minute more. We are not measuring law's rewards. We are witnessing grace's appearing. Over days, you will see a thread. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, quietly braiding through your entries. That is the record we keep. Hold to the rhythm more than to the result. Do not bargain with yourself. No penalties for missed days, no Saturday marathons to atone for Thursday's lapse. Manna cannot be stored. Take today's bread today. If you miss, step back into the stream at the next appointed hour and smile. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. 10 honest minutes daily with 5 honest minutes of reading will do more than a heroic hour once a fortnight. Consistency is the kindness you show your own soul. It grows a climate, not an event, not a burst, but a climate, quiet, settled, steady, like weather that nourishes vineyards. In such a climate, decisions lose their panic, conversations lose their edge, and even the body, without your meddling, begins to mirror the peace it has learned to trust. So set your 30 days like this: daily hearing, then reading, morning and evening remembrance, 1 weekly hour for silence to ripen, and a few lines of truthful journaling. Keep the channel clean, keep the appointments light and faithful. Do this not to make grace work, but to keep yourself where grace is always working. Be still and know that I am God. In 30 days you will not have earned anything. You will have caught a tone, and that tone will begin to keep time for the whole of your life. Now, I know the names that get thrown at this work, and I would rather answer them cleanly than let them haunt your hallway. Is this hypnotism? Is it placebo? No. Hypnotism and placebo both agitate the mind. They rouse it, direct it, and call the mood a remedy. Our way is the opposite movement. We quiet the mind and let presence act. We end the theater of suggestion. We refuse the lever of image and argument. When thinking stops, real power begins. Mind is in power. Spirit is power. Soul is power. Consciousness is power. Truth is power. Placebo borrows belief from tomorrow. Grace gives life today. Hypnotism transfers control from one personality to another. Grace restores us to the I that is God, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Isn't this escapism? No. Escapism hides, grace uncovers. Escapism withdraws from duty, grace equips us for it. Where this tone is heard, you will find yourself more practical, not less, more punctual, more honest in your books, kinder with your speech, steadier under pressure. Floors get swept, phone calls returned, debts faced without tremor. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. The pause does not make cowards, it births courage without bluster and compassion. In that atmosphere, you tell the truth and you keep your promises longer, because love, not fear, is running the day. But what about my mistakes? Hear me tenderly. It isn't your wrong thinking that is getting you in trouble. You have stumbled, as we all do, under the universal claim: fear, self-preservation, reward, and punishment under law. We do not excuse harm. We stand in mercy. And mercy shows us amends without self-condemnation. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. The law came by Moses. Grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Under law, you rehearse your fault and wear it as identity. Under grace, you behold the impersonal claim, let it dissolve in the presence, and then do the next right, simple thing. Shame recedes. Responsibility remains. So here is the clean answer and the invitation. This is not mental suggestion, but yielded awareness. Do not take my word, take the practice. Give 30 days to the regimen and let the fruit speak. O taste and see that the Lord is good. Judge it by its fruits. More peace, more innocence toward others, more added good that harms no one. If agitation rises and advantage sharpens, stop. You have slipped back into law. Return to the pause. By their fruits ye shall know them. Let us be still together for a moment. Set down every tool of thought, every plan and counterplan, and give these few breaths to God alone. Be still and know that I am God. In this quiet, without trying, the room sweetens. You will notice that it is not the wording that softens you, but the word behind the words, the living presence we have been courting all along. Let it rest you now. Let it spread like warmth moving through cool cloth. This is the sanctuary, and it travels with you. Hear me once more simply. Recordings can carry realized consciousness. They do not only store syllables, they bear tone. When you listen beyond the phrasing to the hush behind it, you receive presence. And grace begins to work in ways thought cannot engineer. Faith cometh by hearing, not by strain, not by argument, by hearing. Mind isn't power, spirit is power. Soul is power, consciousness is power, truth is power. When thinking stops, real power begins, and the infinite, invisible, does what no intention can do. Now the charge. Go as a non-anxious presence into your home and your work. Be the pause in the room. Refuse blame. Do not accuse a person, not yourself, not the one nearest at hand. Judge not, that ye be not judged. Listen beneath appearances. When the meeting heats, hear through the words to the silence, and let your peace become the climate. When the child frets, kneel and listen, not for answers, but for presence, and watch how gentleness arrives of itself. When the street is hurried and sharp, do not join the contest. Stand inside the interval and let perfect love casteth out fear. You are not carrying opinions into the world. You are carrying an atmosphere. Let it work. It is not yours, it is God's. As to next steps, to the small faithful things we have laid out, keep to the hearing and reading pairing, morning and evening remembrance, a weekly hour where you are unhurried before God. If the well feels dry, come back to this very audio and let the tone reacquaint you with home. Seek presents, not prizes. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added when needed, not chased. Keep your hands off effects, keep your heart on God. I bless you, and I send you. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Carry the consciousness you catch. Let grace do the work as you keep listening. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Go in that pleasure and let it be enough.